Hello, welcome to Expansive Astrology Academy. I'm Melissa O'Malley, and this is your Taurus season wrap-up / Gemini season sneak peek. I love this time. I love bringing this to you because as sad as it is to wrap up one season and consider, we kind of fall in love with the energy and the medicine that one season can bring. I know when I was deep in Aries season, I was loving Aries season, and then we're deep in Taurus season, and I'm loving Taurus season. It's yeah, but I don't want to do something different, right? And these transitions from season to season are sacred portals. It's such a beautiful way to really ensure that we're honoring all of the medicine, on all of the hard work that we're doing with and for and on ourselves season to season. These transition periods, these portals, invite us to, if we allow them, to look at what we want to bring with us, what we want to make sure that we carry on as we continue to evolve. And each and every portal from season to season to season is sacred in its own way. Each one makes sense. Each one builds off the other, from Aries to Taurus to Gemini to Cancer to Leo, all the way around from Pisces into Aries of the next year. Every single transition is sacred, again, if you allow it to be. So we're gonna review Taurus and really look at how we want to make sure that we honor what Taurus has brought as we transition into Gemini season. So to do that, I'm gonna back all the way up actually to Aries season, just to really illustrate how each portal really builds upon itself, or they build upon each other, however you want to say. Aries season, first sign of the zodiac, it can be compared to a newborn. I believe Lindsay Mack is the brilliant mind who first made this comparison. Aries, or the newborn, is here. It takes up space, and it doesn't look back at, frankly, the absolute carnage that it took to get into this space, right? Aries, or I should say a newborn, will cry when it needs something loudly for as long as it needs to. Aries takes up space. Its phrase is, I am, damn it. Here I am. It's the sign of the self. We really explore what we are and how we take some soil. And then with Taurus, if Aries is the newborn, Taurus is like the little baby toddler. The phrase is, I have. And I think it's such an apt comparison, because I think of the way like an 18-month-old, whatever, a 1 or 2-year-old will hold on to a toy or its blankie or whatever just for the sake of holding it, right? And it'll have a death grip on its little toy car, and you try to take that toy car, I dare you. I picture toddlers who, gather things and stack things, and the energy of I have. What do I have? Taurus invites us to look at the soil that Aries took and claimed for its own. And Taurus invites us to look at what can be made from that. What do we have here? How can I really cultivate this soil in a way that will bring me long-lasting and true feelings of safety, security, stability, and pleasure? That's what Taurus is all about. And Taurus invites us to cultivate those things: safety, security, stability, pleasure, to cultivate those things with what we have, and to examine our routines and patterns and why we do the things that we do. Ruled by the Hierophant, which is the card of a wise teacher. And the card, the Hierophant, really invites us to honor the fact that we are our own best teachers. And we have like an innate inner wisdom and knowing for ourselves. And in Taurus season, we're invited to look at what we know, what we believe. How are we operating, right? Who told you, or why do you believe that that's the best way to cultivate your soil? Where did those patterns come from? And is it the best way to cultivate your soil? Is it bringing you safety, security, stability, and pleasure? True pleasure? Or are you cultivating your soil that way because you were told that's the way to do it by your parents, or a pastor, or a priest, or a teacher, or your older sister, or a partner, or society in general? Taurus invites us to look at our patterns and the ways that we cultivate our soil, where we got that idea from, and is it actually cultivating in the ways that you think and need? Because here's something that you need to know. I can say confidently, we don't do anything, unless we believe on some level, we feel that it is doing those things for us, that it is keeping us safe and secure and comfortable and stable and in pleasure. Even the most like fucked up, unhelpful, uncute shit that you do, on some level, somewhere, you believe, or it feels like it's keeping your soil the way it needs to be. So when we use Taurus season, we get to really look at if our patterns, if the ways that we are being with our garden, is that actually providing like long-term pleasure for me? Or am I just kind of stuck in this routine because I'm stuck in this routine and it feels comfy? Taurus also invites us into a sense of radical receiving. Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is ruled by the card the Empress in the tarot. And the Empress, Lindsay Mack, my tarot teacher, says is all about radical receiving. Yes, and Taurus invites us to look at like what we feel permission to receive. Like, how beautiful can your garden be? How fruitful and like nourishing can your soil be? I really believe that we put limits to that. And because those limits feel comfortable, right? I wouldn't know how to tend a 2-acre, beautiful bursting garden. So we keep ourselves in this little bit of square footage because we feel like that would be too expanded and too beautiful or pleasurable for us. Sometimes we feel like I could never handle that much responsibility, that much beauty, that much expansion. Where are you putting like limits on yourself of how much you can receive and how much you can cultivate and how much you can have? Where are you keeping yourself stuck in your routines? Stuck in what feels comfortable? Stuck in the mud? We keep talking about soil. Let me take a sip. So I think that's pretty complete. So moving into Gemini season, keeping all of that in mind, this idea that I am truly my own best teacher. I can discern for myself what the truth is. That doesn't mean I block out other teachers, absolutely not. In fact, it almost kind of makes me want to seek out, even more. But what embracing the Hierophant does is allows us to discern for ourselves, to trust our innate knowing, our connection to that which is greater. It invites us to trust the pure sparks that come to us from our brain. The expansive, excited, pleasurable, joy-filled receiving. We're capable of it, and we cut ourselves off from that. So we get to honor the fact that you cultivate your soil. You have so much power over your garden and the soil that you stand upon. You have so much power to make sure that your patterns and your choices and your routines are not just like kind of flitting by without a second thought or without true evaluation. It's your job to make sure that your patterns and routines and beliefs and attachments are serving you and others, your world, I should say. We're invited to cultivate more and more and more ease and pleasure and enjoyment for ourselves, because the more we're able to receive ease and pleasure and enjoyment and self-care and healthy, wealthy things, the more we're able to receive that, the more we're able to give into the world. The more we're able to receive, the less we feel the need to take. And let me use that to move right into Gemini. Gemini is represented by the twins and the Lovers card in the tarot. And the risk with Gemini is that the energy of Gemini, seeks its reflection. Like Gemini risks seeking its own reflection to its detriment. Let me explain that a little better. Gemini being represented by the twins represents like the duality that we all have within us. We are all both capable of great anger and great joy. We're capable of being really energetic and really lazy. We're capable of being really like codependent and needy. And we're also capable of being really independent. We all fall in some area of all of those spectrums, right? And we have so many dualities within us. We are all things all the time, kinda. It's overwhelming and beautiful to think of how multifaceted we are and all of the things, the energies, the ideas, the potential that lives within us. It's fucking wild. So, because of that, perhaps, or maybe despite that, Gemini has a tendency to really look for itself reflected in the world around it. And that can be beautiful, or it can be like kind of painful. When you're always looking for your other half, or when you're always looking for it to be reflected to you that you are okay and you are whole. can fuck us up. Now, the Hierophant, again, invites us to honor our inner knowing and honor all that we have within us. And then we move into Gemini, the first air sign of the zodiac. Gemini is so interested in everything. I think because of that duality aspect where it can see all ends of most spectrums. It's aware of so much. And it likes that. Gemini likes to be involved in a lot of things. It likes to know all sorts of things. And sometimes it struggles to get depth. Sometimes this energy of Gemini struggles to do anything but like skim the surface and keep the rest kind of hidden to itself. Gemini can be so, and again, I don't mean Geminis. So, your cousin Fred who's a Gemini, I'm not speaking about Fred. I'm speaking about the energy in general, which we all have influences of Gemini within us, and we're about to be in Gemini season. So expansive astrology isn't saying your cousin Fred who's a Gemini is flaky and like flitty and like never gets deep and only skims the surface. That's not what I'm saying. We all fucking do that sometimes in some ways, right? What was my point? I made that disclaimer before I was going to say something. Yeah, how do I want to say that? I do, like, just transparency's sake, full disclaimer, sometimes it's really hard to articulate, especially the medicine of the air signs. And I think it's especially air signs, maybe because my sun is Aquarius, but I think it's mostly because it's literally, this stuff is kind of so airy and up in the air. It's so, like, hard to make it tangible. I don't know. Just full disclosure. So, Gemini is good at knowing a lot of things. It's so good at making connections between things and, like, again, seeing the duality of all sorts of things. And it has a hard time with anything that like dampens the spirit. I think sometimes Gemini can have a really hard time finding itself in the middle of the spectrum, and it'll either really hang out in where its strengths are, self-expression, connecting things and people together, like volunteering for things and being really involved in, like, learning and sharing and expression. That's where Gemini can shine. And sometimes it pushes away the opposite so much. And yet the opposite is within it. But it, like, avoids those, like, darker things or the things that are just kind of uninteresting or not fun to Gemini. And it has a tendency to just switch to the other side. Let's see, I think it was in my Roy Gillette book, he says that Gemini has a tendency to either be, like, euphoric or despondent. And sometimes there's not really a whole lot of in between. Gemini is it reminds me of mirrors. I just think of mirrors. Gemini is so interested in reflecting beauty and positivity and knowledge and fun, liveliness. Gemini can be so charming. It's so interested in reflecting those things. that it neglects, that it's at risk of neglecting the rest or kind of suppressing the rest until it like has to come out. And that's where I think Gemini gets kind of a bad rap of like a Jekyll and Hyde type thing, or being really two-faced. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think Gemini is two-faced. I think Gemini is everything at once. And Gemini really tries to put on. Gemini is also a mirror in that we seek. It's like an energy of transference. Totally, we seek what we want to see from others, or we seek out reflections of ourselves in others. We want to make sure that we're being like accepted and enjoyed in the world, right? And if we're not careful about how we seek that out, we can find examples or evidence for how we are being reflected in the world, like unfairly. So if the grocery store clerk is grumpy, Gemini is at risk of really taking that on and feeling like that's a reflection of them somehow. It's kind of a trite example, but I think it fits either way. So, part of the medicine of Gemini is really learning how to respect and express the self. How to honor the duality that is within all of us. And how to get an accurate idea of how we are being in the world, or how we are represented or reflected in the world, how we're representing ourselves in the world. Because again, ruled by the Lovers card, for many people, the Lovers card, you might pull this and think that it's a really good sign for your relationship, or a budding relationship is going to happen. And in Soul-Centered Tarot, which again, my tarot teacher, Lindsay Mack, brilliant mind, she really invites us to look at, when we pull the Lovers card, what we are seeking outside of ourselves. How would having a lover make us feel more complete? And why don't you know that that's already within you? You are all things all the time. You have so much potential. You can be so much at any given moment. And you have the power to change from one end of a spectrum to another at any given moment, right? So why is it, or where do you look to outside things or resources or people to bring you what you're seeking? What makes you think that's not already within you? Because it is. It is. Let me see what else. Gemini invites us to look at the ways that we receive love. Taurus and the Empress, this Venus energy, really invited us to open ourselves up to radical receiving. And Taurus teaches us that receiving pleasure and receiving love isn't bad and shouldn't be shamed, and you do deserve it. And it's a good thing. And then Gemini and the Lovers invites us to look at how we seek that out. The ways are like, I love this question. Sorry, kind of a different subject. Gemini asks us, what is happening inside of me and outside of me? And how do these things connect? Again, the reflection, the mirrors. It asks us to look at how we're influencing our world. And damn, is Gemini influential. So in Expansive Astrology Academy, Gemini season, we're looking at how, I don't want to say how we are in the world, because that's kind of the energy of Aries. It's more than that. It's how we like get ourselves what we want in the world. It's how we make things happen for ourselves and in our lives. It's how we again, it's hard to make it tangible, or it's hard to really put into words. It's how we project ourselves in the world, or how we, for better or for worse. We're going to dive into projection and how nuanced projection can be. We're going to really look at how people are mirrors and we are mirrors. Like, this is Transference City, baby. We're going to look at how we like read things and interpret things, how we think about things. So we're really like building on that Hierophant medicine so perfectly. In Gemini season, we're going to look at how self-expression, how we express ourselves, how we can be sure that we're being authentic and honoring our duality at all times. And we're going to look at like our tendency to kind of put on, sometimes we kind of put on an act, and sometimes we have to. But it's important to look at like, when are you being your most authentic self? And when are you kind of putting on, We're also going to look at communication and how we get our needs met and how we express ourselves through the way that we communicate. And then we also have a full moon in Sagittarius this season. So like, talk about self-expression. We are diving into self-expression, how we get our needs met in the world, and how we can honor all that we have within us. So it's going to be a busy season. I believe there will be 4 modules again, because it's the medicine is potent. It's there. There's a lot to dive into under this umbrella, and I can't wait to guide you through it. I absolutely can't wait to guide you through it. So we'll have 4 modules. We'll have 4 group coaching calls. Yeah, can't wait to see you there. Let me know if you'd like to register. $111. We get started this week, baby. The new moon is on Friday, the 22nd. And that's when we'll really start to sink our teeth into what we want Gemini season to bring us and how we want Gemini season to look. So we're getting started real quick. So let me know how I can support you. Let me know how you think this portal can be most like potent for you. How can you really make sure that what we've been working on with our garden and our soil in Taurus season will be able to be really honored and like feel very foundational and true and firm as we kind of shake things up and look at this kind of scary topics that Gemini season brings. Looking at our impact on the world and like how things come back to us. Sometimes it's not so pretty. So let me support you. I'd love to see you there. Take care. Bye.